Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Welcome back. We're inside today. It is chilly outside. The sun is shining, as you can see through the window here. However, it's still pretty cold and it's still got air, still wind blowing. So I just don't have. One, it would be hard to keep a pipe lit, and two, it would be bitter cold because being up here on as high as the nest sits, it's just that wind just blows through the porch. Something fierce. So, yeah, I'm just not interested in that for show. So, some crazy news this week. My Steelers made the playoffs. How about that? We get to play Buffalo on Saturday. And I was wrong with the Michigan-Washington National Championship prediction. I predicted on here that it was going to be Washington by a touchdown. And I told my other buddy he wanted a score. So I said Washington was going to win 38-31. And Michigan scored 34 points, so I was close to the winning number almost. But, yeah, Washington just did not play very well at all. So, cup of mud, by the way. In the Gettysburg Museum, the Museum of History. Oh, my word, I can't read today. Lancaster Roasters Star Barn in it today. So, then yes, on Wednesday we got hit with some pretty sad news for Alabama fans and true college football fans in general. Coach Nick Saban from the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, has decided to retire. 72 years old, and I was kind of hoping he'd go one more year, only because that we got beat by Michigan in the Rose Bowl. I was kind of hoping he'd come back for one more year, with Milroe being definitely a whole lot better than he was in the beginning of the year, and he just decided that it was time. So at 72 years of age, Coach Saban has decided to retire, and he will go down in history as one of the best, if not the best, college football coach to ever live. 7 national championships, 6 in Alabama, and 1 at LSU. And that is the most, and I have to say, I don't foresee it being beat by any other coach because of the fact of they are now opening up the playoffs to 12 teams instead of 4 teams. And I think that it's just going to be really, really hard for teams to continuously make that championship game and win it with contending with 12 different teams every year to get there. So, but we'll see. Can't say it will never be done, but I'm saying it's going to be extremely difficult to see. So now, of course, the huge question is who's going to replace Coach Saban at the University of Alabama? Well, there are 3 coaches that are on the short list to replace him. All have coached at Alabama with Coach Saban, and they are as follows: Dan Lanning, the University of Oregon head coach. We have Lane Kiffin, who is now the head coach at Ole Miss. And of course, we have Steve Sarkisian, the head coach of Texas, who just left Alabama to go to Texas. That is the short 3. man O'Day. It is hard for me to say there's one that stands out to me that I would really, really love to see at Alabama again. Now, Dan Lanning has had a tremendous amount of, success at Oregon University with the Ducks. They are now switching over to the Big Ten for 2024 season. Will Dan Lanning be willing to leave Oregon for Alabama? I would think there's a pretty good possibility. And then, Sarkisian just left to go to Texas, and Texas beat Alabama last year, 2023 season, and finished the season at ranked number 3 over Alabama. But I don't foresee him leaving Texas with what he's done with that program so far. With being relatively really new there, I just don't foresee him walking away from Texas University. So I would have to say Sarkisian is out as a future head coach of Alabama at this time. Now, that puts us down to Dan Lanning and Lane Kiffin. And, of course, Lane Kiffin has always been a favorite of mine, including when he was at SC and got shafted, which SC also shafted Steve Sarkisian, and they both coaches went from there to Alabama, which is kind of ironic, and then became great head coaches. Lane is now previously at Ole Miss, and he's been there for a couple of years now, and he's finished within the top 12 or 15 every year since he's been there. And Ole Miss has certainly gotten better and better. They just came into the bowl season at number 11 and beat number 10 in Penn State. So it's now, in my opinion, between Dan Lanning from Oregon and Lane Kiffin. Some say Mike Vordell from Florida State will leave Florida State and come to Alabama, which is also a possibility because he coached under Coach Saban as well before he went on to become a head coach at who was undefeated until they met Georgia in the bowl. I'm going to have to say I would really personally love to see either or. Dan Lanning or Lane Kiffin would not bother me one bit. Those are the two I'm rooting for. I am more of a Lane Kiffin fan, and I think Lane really showed his love and respect for Nick Saban in Alabama. When they beat Penn State, they asked him who they thought was going to win the national championship, and he answered it in 2 words, Roll Tide, and then smiled and walked away. So, I'd really like to see Lane Kiffin. But I would not be disappointed one bit to see Dan Lanning come in. Dan Lanning is 37 years old. Lane Kiffin is just around the same age. So either way, you're going to get a very long-term coach out of them. And I think it could be really interesting to see where that goes. So it's my little football rant for this week. Sorry about that, but I wanted to cover that because of being a huge Alabama fan, and I felt that Coach Saban deserved that because of the respect, because I was raised on respect is something you earn, not something you're given, and whether you love Alabama or hate Alabama, you have to respect Nick Saban because he is just a fantastic coach. He has done so many great things for the Tuscaloosa community, building homes for humanity. Every time they won a national championship, even when they weren't doing it, they were still involved in that stuff. When the tornado came through and tore up Tuscaloosa, they were very involved in it. So he truly is a legend. So That's it for now with that. So let's get into Fine Five on Friday. PjMP's YouTube channel is number 1. Pickin and Piping is number 2. Pickin and Piping, number 2. Number 3 is Donald Hughes. Donald Hughes is number 3. At this time, I ask for you to hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. Hit the more button, drop into the root cellar. All the names and links of these fellers and everybody that's affiliated with me will be linked below. Number 4 is Senior Churchwarden. Another great channel, Senior Churchwarden. PjMP is really new, so please make sure you stop over and see him. Pickin and Piping, keep him in your prayers. And, tune into him as well, please. And number 5, the Veteran of the Week, SeaSmokes Pipes, Mr. Eric Weaver. If you do not know SeaSmokes Pipes, Eric, you need to stop over there and check him out. Great pipe maker. Really like him as well. Fantastic feller. So please stop over and check those guys out. And as always, thank you so much for your love and your support. The likes, the subscribes, the shares, the comments. Thank you so very much for all of that. It means so much to me. And until we can get together and pack a pipe or smoke that great cigar, let all that you do be done in love. Y'all take care and God bless. Roll Tide.